Hey, welcome back to Left 4 Dead Garage. A little different video today. Actually assembled a team. We're gonna work on the orange truck today. And so we got a bunch of people doing the rear flip on the lowering kit. We got drop spindles. We're gonna cut the springs. Got to put a motor and transmission in it. I'm gonna put this guy in it. I was gonna put a small block in it, but got rid of that, so it's getting a big block. And then the gamble is this thing. Know nothing about this transmission. Found it at LKQ. Turbo 400. It looks clean. Just take a chance. Got a 27 to 2800 converter for it. I don't know anything about the camshaft in this motor, so just took a shot in the dark. It's a 10-inch converter, which surprised me. I figured it would be 11. But a little tiny converter. Hopefully it'll be all right. But I got most of everything to put this thing together. But the goal for today is lower it, motor and transmission in, and then that'll give me a good head start for trying to make it to C10 Revival in Denton, North Carolina in about 2 months. So we'll get some tools out. We'll get started on this thing. All right, I let my mic go dead. So I have to just talk loud and we might have a little background noise. So, well, this video went off the rails real quick. I didn't really think about it too much. I thought it'd be easy. Well, the idea of the video was easy. Invite 6-7 people over, jump on a project, see how much you can get done, or see how quickly you can get the things done that you had on the list. 7 people working is chaos. I can't video, or I couldn't video, because then I wouldn't be helping. Then I hurt my back, so I was basically useless anyway. So maybe I could have videoed. Anyway, it was just too much chaos to video the action that was going on. I didn't even get a picture of the, oh, I do have a picture of the truck on the ground. So let's jump forward to where we are now. Truck is on a jack stand ramp combination, that way I can see ride height. The motor is in, transmission's in, obviously the truck's lowered. I have a list of things to do I want to do this weekend. Probably will not have this video up since it's already Friday. First on the list is I'm going to jump down here to check header fitment. I need to make sure these headers are actually C10 headers. If not, I need to get on Facebook Marketplace or something and round up a set. Belts, hoses, power steering. I got to swap the power steering pulley. I could not find the power steering pulley off the dually back there. I've not seen it in 3 years, so. This one, however, is broken. You can see that crack right there, but it's had better days. So I'm sure there's a pulley or 2 or 3 around here that I can steal. Got to get a serpentine belt, because that belt is the setup I had on the Impala, and in the Impala I had the alternator in this bolt hole down here, so it sucked it down. Well, that is a different thread than the rest of the head, so I don't know what's going on with that, but I do not have a bolt long enough to fit through there, and I really don't want to sacrifice this alternator and drill it out for a 7/16 bolt. So that should be a stock length belt, which I should have somewhere. I'm just going ahead and figuring, I don't know where it's at. So gotta get belts. This is the power steering pump belt off one of the other 454s that I've got. So hopefully this guy will work, which it looks like it will. I'm sure I need a new one, but for right now, we'll run it. Because this is a budget situation here. I got some wiring to do. I need to put the key switch in the column, drop distributor in, fuel system. The only thing I'm probably going to get to is wiring the fuel pump. I don't want to put the fuel tank back in. I have the fuel tank, and oddly enough, I don't know how, it is clean as a pin in that thing. This is the sending unit. Look at that. I mean, from the outside, I expected that on the inside. So probably need to check and see if that gauge works. I did get a new nut and washer, and the tank is very clean. I do, however, have to get part of the gas cap out of there because it was a locking cap, so I drilled it out. So inside the tank's clean. We'll just new cap and O-ring, put it back together, and replace these sections of hoses. Now this block, this is a later model 454, so it has no mechanical fuel pump. So I'll have to run electric fuel pump. But I've got one. It's in the will it run that apparently probably never will run. So we'll just steal it from that, worry about another pump later. Let's see. Transmission mount, cross member, shift linkage, and converter bolts. That kind of says itself. Transmission pan and cooler lines. I guess I could have added that in with the transmission line of stuff there. I did get a filter. Like I said, this is a gamble on the transmission. This is a LKQ special. No idea about the transmission. Gotta get a few parts from O'Reilly's tomorrow. Obviously the belt, if the headers fit, I need to get some black paint because these things look nasty. Right here. And one of them's broke, so I need to see if I can figure out which one is broken. Need to get a fuel filter. Should probably write that on there. So I guess I'm just going to jump straight into seeing if I can get these headers to fit. If they will, then we'll get some paint. I'll pull them back off, we'll get some paint. Also got to round up a starter. Just notice that, do not have a starter. So I got to find one of those. I'm sure there's one here. Distributor is MSD HEI distributor. It actually came with this 454 stuff here that I found on Marketplace. One of those deals, I couldn't pass it up. I'll reuse the wires that we had on the motor in the Will It Run video, or the Break It In video. I'll post a link in the description for that if you haven't seen it. This motor sounds really good to me. It's not a set of wires that I would buy. I don't even know where they came from, but we got them, we'll use them. The pulleys and the alternator came, they were on the Impala at one point. Larry gave me that water pump. The intake was on the Impala, the carburetor has been on the Impala. Valve covers came with the motor. That breather was on the Impala. Those spark plugs have probably been in the Impala. A lot of used stuff here. A lot of borrowed stuff. What else? Need to put a dipstick in the dipstick tube, but do not have one. Coolant temp sensor. This truck's got mechanical gauges, so I'm gonna hook those up. I was gonna buy gauges, but like I said, budget. So first things first, well, let me see if I can get these headers to fit. Fingers crossed. All right, let me get you caught up here. The headers fit, so we need to clean those up and paint them. This one is the broke one, so one of the tubes on top of the collector, so whatever. They are rather low. You see the tubes, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the tubes are already flat, so we'll probably drag those. Let's see, what's our next problem? Ordered power steering high pressure hose. Nobody had it in stock. Cross-referenced the number, found a number on Amazon. So here we go with this Amazon crap again. I'm on power steering pump pulley number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4 now. The other 3 that I rounded up were also trashed. This is the one I pulled off, 5 3/4. This is the only one that I could round up that would fit, and it's straight. And I know it's straight. I ran this pump, ran this whole assembly before. It's 6.5 inches in diameter. It'll slow the pump down, which I don't think it'll matter. It came off a truck. It was actually on my 1-ton 4-wheel drive on 42s and hydraulic assist and all that mess. And at idle, it had enough pump pressure to turn 42s and a hydraulic ram, so surely it'll work for this, because I cannot find a pulley local. I mean, I could probably put a Facebook feeler out, but that means I'd have to run around, and this one is sitting right here. So press this pump. Actually, I may shoot it with some paint, press the pulley back on there. While the pulley's drying, we can move to, I need to go rob the radiator. Okay, so I'm gonna steal the radiator out of the dually, only because I found out you can run an OBS, like big block 454 type radiator, in the square body relatively easy, and then the 05 and up factory E-fans work with the radiator relatively easily. So I seen it in person, I liked it. I've got a set of those killer fans. If any of these junkers is going to get a nice radiator, they might as well be the dually. I say junker with love. So I need to rob the radiator out of that. I don't know if I want to do that in the dark, which I might, and the tall grass. So let me press this pump pulley on and we'll move on from there. Oh, just realized I don't have a mic on again, so I'll have to talk loud. Last night, what'd I do? Okay, so I figured out, or dumb luck, so I changed up my alternator bracket setup. I used a bunch of factory stuff, actually everything factory off that other big block that I've got. So alternators just like it should be. Put that other stuff aside, maybe use it later, try to keep up with it. When I go to need it, I'll never know what I did with it. But got the pulley pulled off, didn't have to buy a belt. We'll take a chance on this old dry rotted belt here. Drop distributor, put the oil gauge on it, primed it. Ran around town. I have this old cheap fan switch, 185 on, 175 off. So we'll drop it in right there. I got a coolant temp sensor for a gauge, because this truck has mechanical gauges. Part number TS6. The problem I've ran into is it's supposed to go in this cylinder head, and that pipe plug is not wanting to play well. I might be able to drive, what size? I think it's 3/8. Yeah, it's 3/8, so 375 thousandths. It's got to where it's kind of wobbly. Might put a little heat on it. I also may drive a 10 millimeter in there. So 375, 10 millimeters, 393 thousandths. Well, 394, I guess, if you round up. But, so I'd like to put it in there because the factory harness will lay, because the compressor is supposed to go right here. So the factory harness, once I get it all taped up and cleaned up, will lay where it's at. I've got the pulley painted, so I'm gonna press the pulley on. I was gonna do it last night, but when you improperly prep an item and spray it with spray paint, well, you get the results that you would expect. Crappy results. So I'm guessing it's cured enough to touch it. Yeah. So if you look at it real quick, it looks all right. So I'm gonna press the pulley on. We'll put the belt on. Hopefully our adjustment and all that stuff works out good. Need to modify the return setup, so probably chop this one off right here, spin it over and do something, maybe 90, and then I don't know, it needs some slack in it for motor movement, because we did not change the motor mounts. I bought them, but remind me when I have to do this again. And I also bought, I'm gonna spray those headers with this crap. 15 bucks for spray paint now. What the crap? Ridiculous. Manifold gaskets. Had to go to 2 different stores to get this stuff in the other county. Transmission mount, manifold gaskets. I do not use header gaskets unless I have to. Manifold gaskets are far superior to paper header gaskets, and they're already notched on the ends, so you can just take all the bolts out but the 2 end bolts, drop these things in, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna weld that header up too. It stopped raining, so I get a walk through tall wet grass and pull the radiator out of the dually. But first I'm gonna press this power steering pump on, or power steering pump pulley onto this pump. I need to round up. Well, I'll steal them out of the other motor. I stole this this bypass hose. Some people say you have to have it. Some people, and I originally ran the Impala without it. People asked me if it ran hot. It did not. They made me paranoid, so I added it back in. So I'm gonna put it in this one. So I need to steal the fittings out of one of those motors in the Connex. I guess that's where we're at. Let's get some work done. All right, sorry for the fan noise. It's terribly humid out here. Let's see. This guy's plumbed. The geometry is different between the stock stuff and this aluminum stuff. Got a belt on here. Belt hoard. I'd like to thank my uncle for that. So he gave me a bunch of those belts. I had one that would run water pump, crank, and power steering, but it was almost at the max of my adjustment. I found this one will just do power steering only. I actually had to pull the pulley out some to get this to line up, because all the way back it was a different depth, and I didn't really check the depth last night between like the back of the pulley and the face of the back side, if that makes sense. Put a straight edge, use some dial calipers, and check it that way. Pipe plug that might already been there. Temp sensor. Got the sensor in the cylinder head. That was fun. It took me 3 tries to get a nut welded on that pipe plug because I totally roached it trying to get it out of there. So got that thing out of there. I think now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on this wiring and try to lay it out, see where it goes, and then re-clean it up. Because, you know, this tape's from '73, so stuff's pretty rough. Feel sure, yeah, I might be wrong. This is AC compressor, I feel sure. One of these two is temp sensor. I don't know which one. I've got the orange C10 out in the field. It might tell me. Or I could call Charlie and have him look at the white truck. So, because it's pretty sure, yeah, I put mechanical gauges in it, so it should be the same wire. I don't know what this wire goes to. It's a mystery. But yeah, clean all this up as much as I can. There ain't really much I can do with that broke loom or whatever you want to call this channel thing. I guess I could flip it back over and it would look better, but anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. Probably pull some of this off, tape this stuff up, lay it out, and then pull the headers. You know what? I think I'll pull the headers and start painting, clean those up, paint those while the paint's drying, and then we'll play with wiring. Sound good? Good. I got the headers on. They're painted. The paint that I put on them is probably worth more than the headers themselves, but it's what I got, so that's just what I got. They're definitely on their last leg, because that crack in this passenger side one, it was tack, blow a hole, chase the hole, tack, blow a hole. So they're pretty thin, but it'll, you know, it'll work. Hosed them down pretty good. It won't stay, but it looks better than rust. Carburetor's on, distributor cap's on. I was going to use these wires. I can't bring myself to do it because I hate them that bad. So back last summer, Holly had some crazy sale and I bought up some stuff just to have, and I was thinking there was a set of black Excels. I don't like Excel, but they were cheap, and it was like for like will it runs or whatever. It's kind of good to have a $20 set of spark plug wires if you don't have any. But in the stuff that my uncle gave me a while back, there was nearly a whole set of Taylors, black Taylors, and then he gave me a ton of boots and ends, and then I had some stuff here and here. So I've put together enough stuff to where I can put ends on it. I believe I'll use the black ones. The gray ones are MSD, but we'll just make them all black, and then I got enough ends to crimp. I've got a full set of MSD ends here because they pinch the wire in between those, and then, well, some of them are old enough to where they actually say MSD on them. So some of this stuff's 20 plus years old of my stuff. I didn't really want to take the time to do it, but to make myself happy, I'm going to build some spark plug wires because I just like building spark plug wires. It's one of those things. Some people hate it. I love it. I still have a lot to do. It's dry enough now, well, it's humid as ever, that I'm gonna go rob the radiator out of the dually. I probably should do that right now, but so I'm gonna build some plug wires.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Product, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
All right, well, procrastination has got me yet again. Actually, I guess double procrastination, because we discussed the tall grass out there where I needed to go, and well, there's a heavy dew, but it stormed last night. So now, knocking stuff over. Now I've got tall wet grass again this morning. I guess we'll have to wait on the radiator for a little longer. I just don't want wet feet at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm gonna move on to, or continue on with what I was wasting too much time on yesterday. Finish up the plug wires. Those 90-degree boots on the Taylor wires just wasn't jiving with running wires the normal way. So what I've done is wasted entirely too much time, and I have managed to run them under the headers and back up behind the cylinder heads to the distributor. It took a lot of time to figure out how to attach things. I got a rubber clamp down there on the oil pan rail on the driver's side, and then there was a threaded boss on this passenger side. I don't know if you can see that or not down in there. I know it's not ideal, and it's something I've never done before, and honestly I really like how this looks. Now, the fact that the plug wires are black, so they're kind of out of sight, out of mind, and then with them ran under the headers and up the back of the cylinder head, once I put an air filter on this thing, you basically won't see the distributor or plug wires. So I'm really liking this. I guess it's this cleaner look, a naked look. I don't know how you put it, but I'm starting to like this truck more and more. It's probably going to be tough to sell if I sell it. I don't know. I'm going to finish terminating these plug wires. Now I got to be real careful on which, make sure I terminate the right plug wire. So I've kind of got them stuck in the terminals where they go. And the reason I did that is because it took me several tries to make sure I had enough wire to make the route. Because it's a longer route, a much longer route than just, up and over the valve covers. So we're going down, in some cases down, and then back up, and then around. It took a lot more time than it should have taken as far as doing plug wires, but I want to be different. I think that's the only thing I hadn't covered. The carburetor's mounted. Still to work my fuel line, go get that wet radiator. Well, the radiator ain't wet, but my feet's gonna be wet. It definitely needs a radiator support. Maybe do that later, I don't know. Transmission mounts in, need to work on the shift linkage. That's not a necessary thing today. I would like, converter has to be bolted up. I really would like to drop this pan and take a look in there, that transmission pan, take a peek inside. But for now, I'm gonna carefully, and I don't have a multimeter. Both multimeter batteries are dead, or I'll just ohm out the plug wire. So there's that. Let's get to building some plug wires. I'll show you how I do a couple. We just covered it on old Pinky over here, but in case you didn't see that, I'll crimp a few and show you how it goes. All right, I got number 8 left to do. I'll show you how I crimp it. You may know, but some may not. So we'll just go over it one plug wire. And I gotta say, this under the header stuff is a little confusing trying to keep up with what plug wire you're working on, because I kind of had to go ahead and loom it to figure out my lengths. Well, it's not really loomed, but I used the zip tie dirt track roadkill wire loom, and then those insulated clamps. So I have to do something a little special with those just to keep them off the headers. Looking back, I probably should have sourced some of that heat sleeve stuff. I've got some fuel line heat sleeve that I could have slid over them. I may be able to snake them through there one at a time, I don't know. But on the other hand, if you look at it this way, well, I've got a master set of plug wires to go by now. So if I did this again, or if I had to replace these, then I know exactly what length to cut them. Shorter, longer, however. So look at it that way, it's a good thing. But let's crimp a plug wire. Now, since I'm doing these on the vehicle, that little crimp tool that MSD sends with stuff, and maybe other companies do too, this little thing here, you have to use in a vise, and the plug wire goes in there and it smashes it and crimps it. And these little things, that's an 8mm and 8.5mm. That's how you gauge where to cut your silicone back. You just run it through there to the end, put the razor blade against this, spin the wire, and it's a perfect depth cut on both. I do not use these. I have inherited and collected more than enough than I'll ever use. So if you need one of these, come get one or two. So, but all plug wire sets come with them, and I've even got an old set somewhere that is a cast aluminum set of crimpers that you have to break apart. Anyway, it's here somewhere that you have to break apart to use, but eventually they found a cheaper way to do it, which is just as good, and went plastic. So let's crimp a wire. Let's see, spray silicone, that's all I got that idea from my dad. He said that's the only thing that's worked. That's the only thing that works best on silicone wires. And I even attempted it with some stuff that Joe gave me, and it is in fact way better than any other spray stuff I've used. PB Blast WD-40 spray silicone is the way to go. All right, I've got my wire length already determined. I've already got my core cut back. I use Moroso crimpers. I'm sure you can find another set cheaper. Replaceable dies, you can do all kinds of crimps with it. I had dies before, but I've lost them. And once you go past the lock point, they automatically open up. You can set depths and all kinds of junk with it, but I've got it set up where I like it, so I'll just leave it alone. I'm gonna try to put you somewhere where you can see what I'm doing here. All right, I may have to zoom in. I've already lost a piece. So your crimp item, I take and just go ahead and narrow this up so they're about running parallel with one another. That way when I set it on the wire, it'll actually, here, I'll just show you. It stays in place. That's the only reason. So we'll put that there so we can lose it. The plug boot. These have been tough to get on there for some reason. And it was only the ones that had this white chalky stuff on them. The other ones slipped right on. Both were 8mm, so I don't know what the deal is. And it seemed like it worked best when I sprayed the wire. And then maybe it has some sort of residue that ain't happy. So just feed it through there. This one slid right through. So then, since the boot's loose, you can take your boot, you can clock it wherever, and then that way you know exactly what position to put your terminal in. Then just try your best to keep everything lined up, so you know when you stick it on there, it's not trying to roll over and twist and whatnot. Then the end that looks like a W there, the bottom piece, and there's a crimp. You just pull the boot back through. Hope that it doesn't go crooked like it just did. And there you go. So I'm gonna go back and clean these up, do some zip tie lumen, and pray that I didn't screw this up. I'm probably just gonna double check. Well, it'd be too tough to double check. We're just gonna hope for the best. Feel pretty good about it, but hey, I've been way wrong before, so yeah, it is what it is. I guess after this, lumen the wires. I got the transmission pan draining. It had a rubber plug in it. I don't know if LKQ does those to drain the fluids out so it doesn't leak on the lot or what, but what fluid that did come out, which is about half a quart, was really clean. So I'm gonna pull the pan, keep it draining, pull the pan eventually. Probably pull the pan, then put the converter bolts in. But right now I need to jump on this wire and quit putting it off. Let me knock out the rest of this plug wire mess, and we'll jump back into something else. All right, I got the plug wires loomed enough to crank it and make sure that I didn't screw that up, and I, got confused with firing order, because let me tell you, it's a little confusing over there. Went ahead and pulled the transmission pan. Also, I got a method of holding these plug wires back. I need some of those rubber insulated clamps. I have some, they're too small, but I've got enough wire and I can reach the back of the cylinder head where if I get a long one, I can pull the wires and hold them at the back of the cylinder head and run those wires through there. So I need to go to the hardware store for that. So I went there and pulled the transmission pan. I mean, honestly, it's got some stuff in here, but it's really nothing that really alarms me. I mean, it's typical transmission nasty. But here's the pan. I know it looks like bad, but I mean, most of the ones that I've ever pulled look like this. So, and it doesn't smell bad. Everything is pretty clean under here. Nothing that alarms me. It could be junk, I don't know. I don't know automatic transmissions very well, but I know a fella that does, especially turbo 400s. So if it is in fact garbage, well, we'll pull it out and go have it, sorted out. The only problem that scares me is I've got about 300 bucks in a torque converter under this thing that I'm really gambling with on a transmission that may not be any good. But we'll know quickly, and if it doesn't pull and doesn't act right, shut it down, and I'll just gamble again on a transmission and a converter by using an old, you know what I mean. Anyway, that's how it is. I'm just rolling the dice here. So I'm gonna get this pan cleaned out. We'll get it slapped back on there and get some fluid in it, and set the depth on this torque converter and get some hardware in it. Let's get it done. All right, I was gonna clean that pan with brake cleaner, but it's super clean. Sent me some more spray foam. This stuff is great. I mean, that stuff just sliding right off. See it up in here? It's just pulling that black crud right with it. I don't know if it's the foam action or what, but for the rough stuff, I like this spray foam. They also sent me a banner. I need to hang it up. Probably can't see it, but it's stuck to the door over there. Well, yep, the wind's done knocked it down kinda. But yeah, this crap is just sliding right off. Works pretty good. So thank you, Super Clean. All right, so I had company yesterday, and I just don't like videoing around company, and I got, well, not really company. I guess I got down to the wire to where I was close to cranking it, and I was sick of being down here because I was down here for 11 plus hours yesterday, and I was also down here 10 plus hours Saturday. I guess I was just sick of it. Like I'm just like, I just want to hear this junk run. I had a little moment. Apparently I put the distributor in wrong. Yes, I'm an idiot. I guess I screwed that up somehow. Thought for sure I was in the right spot, but apparently I was not, so slowed me down just a bit. It does run. Had to pull my belt back off because my power steering hose did not show up in time. And like I said, I got to the point where I was just sick and tired of fooling with it and I wanted to hear it run. So the radiator is properly bungee corded in. So is that fan that also out of the stash of stuff from my uncle. So I pulled the belt off so I wouldn't run my pump dry. So I ran me a wire from the battery. That's that orange wire. Plug it in the ignition. Got the bump box. The truck is not involved in this situation. Also, had to buy a new fuel pump because my old trusty Will It Run fuel pump, well, won't run no more. I had questioned this thing in that Will It Run video, and that's the only thing it's ever done was this motor on a run stand, and that's as far as it made it. Well, I tried to rough it up a little bit to try to wake it up, but that didn't work, so went and bought another one. Maybe this one will work better, I guess. And I did have a scare. Not totally sure that it was the exhaust rubbing, because I fabbed me up some exhaust, or what the noise was. But right about the time the fuel pump died was the first 20 seconds I heard it through the mufflers, and I heard something in the motor. I'm hoping it was just a rattle that sounded funny, because I've had rattles that made me think it was something way worse than a rattle. I did not hear it on crank up. I just started it. I put the fuel pump on it. I didn't even have a good day, because all I thought about was this motor all day long. Like, just woke up with a headache, had a headache all day. I'm still paranoid that there could be something wrong with it. But it holds great oil pressure, like 90 pounds on a cold, you know, I mean, it's kind of at temperature now, but, and I don't know. I'm praying that it's good, because if it's not good, something happens and this truck's just going back out there and it'll sit till whenever. But I really want to drive it. I want a beater pickup. I really want a big block powered beater pickup. I'm not going to pull the exhaust back off to let you hear it open header. If you want to do that, then I'll put a link to the Run To video, or the Will It Run Break It In video in the description. But what I will do is I will crank it up with these mufflers. Now, I had a couple of pieces of 3-inch tubing in the rafters of the building, and these mufflers I bought when I was 21 years old. I'm now 44. So I think, and I'm hoping and I'm praying, my rattle was the exhaust touching the cross member, because I had the jack stand slid forward to pinch them on there, and then I self-tapered the mufflers to the pipe just because this muffler fell off on crank. And I cut the flanges off the headers, as you can see laying on the ground there, and I'm just going to slip over some 3-inch sleeves and use band clamps on the headers, because 3-bolt collector flange gaskets suck. So I diddled with the timing, so it's probably too hot and it'll be hard to crank with my luck, but we'll go ahead and blast her off. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't ask for this thing to sound any better. Like, if it runs half as good as it sounds, I'll be super thrilled. Let me hook this fan up. Oh, I left the fuel pump running. Alright. Hopefully I didn't jack the timing up. Oh, I guess it helps if I hook the ignition up. Rocker arm noise. sounds pretty good. Well, I went to do the edit, realized I didn't close the video out. So everything you watched before this is probably a month old. Every bit of a month old. So at this point, it's still sitting here a month later. It's actually went backwards some from that last bit of that video. Not a whole lot. It's got one new mirror. It would have two new mirrors, but in typical fashion, I took the old mirror off and the plate came loose from the door, the mirror plate, and it's now inside the door on the driver's side. So that means I got to pull the door panel off to put the mirror on. And that's kind of how this whole thing's been, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So anyway, I'm gonna try to get back on it. I'm trying to balance a whole lot right now. Got all the parts for Pinky, got fan problems on Joe's car, and it is like that far from being done. As long as I don't break it between now and whenever it goes up the road. But anyway, thanks for watching Left 4 Dead Garage. Hopefully we'll have some more orange truck content soon. C10 Revival is coming quick. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's my plan, is to drive that turd to C10 Revival in Denton, North Carolina. It's about 2 hours from here. I guess that's all I got. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.